My nephew is clearly the best person for this position, so the $75,000 promotion goes to him. Those words floated through the air at our Tuesday meeting, landing on me like concrete. Everyone around the conference room nodded and smiled. Some clapped. I sat perfectly still, my proposal folder tucked neatly beside me. 6 months of extra projects documenting why I deserved that senior marketing position. 5 years at the company. 260 weekends interrupted by emergency calls. 3 canceled vacations. The nephew had been here 8 months. I watched Kevin, our CEO, beam at his sister's son, Brendan, 24 years old. Business degree still warm from the printer. His main qualification appeared to be sharing DNA with the boss. "Let's give Brendan a round of applause," Kevin announced, his voice dripping with pride. As hands slapped together, my phone buzzed with messages from coworkers. "This is so wrong. You were robbed. Everyone knows you should have gotten it," but no one said a word out loud, including me. I nodded politely when Kevin's gaze drifted my way, my face a mask of professional composure. Inside, something shattered. "Hey, before I continue with what happened next, I want to thank you for listening. Drop a comment below telling me where you're listening from. I love connecting with you all. My name is Melody. I'm 32, detail-oriented to a fault, and I've spent my career being what my mom calls the reliable one, the person who arrives early and stays late, the one who remembers everyone's birthdays and brings homemade cookies to meetings, the employee who fixes problems before the boss even realizes they exist. I wasn't always this way. In college, I was known for spontaneous road trips and karaoke marathons. But somewhere along the way, I learned that being dependable made people need me. And being needed felt like being valued. I joined this marketing company fresh out of college. It wasn't my dream job, but I thought it would be a stepping stone. Days turned into months, months into years. I became the go-to person for everything, from major client presentations to figuring out why the coffee maker stopped working. Kevin, the CEO, inherited the company from his father. He was charming in that loud, backslapping way that passes for leadership in some circles. Clients adored him because he took them golfing and remembered their children's names. Employees feared him because his mood could switch from jovial to volcanic without warning. I'd survived by making myself essential. When Kevin needed emergency help with presentations at 11 p.m., I answered. When our biggest client threatened to leave, I created the campaign that kept them. I trained new hires, including Brendan when he arrived last year. Brendan was likable enough, eager, friendly, with an easy confidence that came from never facing serious consequences. He asked good questions and laughed at his mistakes. Sometimes I found myself enjoying our training sessions until I'd remember he was earning nearly my salary, despite knowing a fraction of what I did. He's family. My friend Layla from accounting had warned me months ago, "Don't expect fair play." I dismissed her concerns. The promotion process is structured. There's a committee. They'll review our work objectively. Or so I thought. After the announcement, I finished the workday on autopilot. Congratulated Brendan with a smile that hurt my face. Accepted sympathetic glances from coworkers. Emailed clients. Attended a product development meeting. All while feeling completely hollow. At 6:30 p.m., when the office had emptied, I sat at my desk, staring at my computer screen. 5 years of files organized in perfect folders. Processes I'd created. Problems I'd solved. Relationships I'd built. I hadn't cried yet. That worried me. I should feel something beyond this strange numbness. My phone rang. My friend Tori calling for her weekly check-in. "Hey," I answered. "Did you get it? The promotion?" They'd be idiots not to. They gave it to Brendan. Silence stretched between us. Kevin's nephew, the one you've been training, the one who asked you last month if Russia was in Europe or Asia. That's the one. Melody, that's ridiculous. What about the committee? Your performance reviews? The Westfield campaign you saved? Apparently none of that mattered. You need to fight this, Tori insisted. Go to HR. File a complaint. This is blatant nepotism. I laughed, but it came out wrong. Too sharp, too bitter. HR reports to Kevin. The committee was overruled. It's done. So you're just giving up? That's not you, Mel. Was it not? Hadn't my whole career been about accepting whatever was handed to me with a smile? I should go, I said. Melody, wait. I ended the call. Rain started falling as I drove home, matching my mood. My apartment felt especially empty that night. I heated leftover pasta and poured a glass of wine, then sat on my couch staring at the wall. My phone kept buzzing with texts from worried friends. I ignored them all. Around midnight, I opened my laptop and started typing. Not a resignation letter, something else. A list of everything I did at the company that no one else knew how to do. Client contact history only I maintained. Process shortcuts I'd never documented. Relationship details I'd never shared. The list grew longer than I expected. By 2 a.m., I had a plan forming. Not to quit, not to complain, something different. The next morning, I arrived at work 30 minutes earlier than usual. Before anyone else showed up, I rearranged my desk completely, moved my computer to the opposite side, rearranged my reference materials, changed my desktop background and screensaver. Small changes, nothing dramatic. When my coworker Dana stopped by with her usual morning chat, I responded differently than I normally would. Not rude, just altered. Where I usually offered detailed responses to her stories, today I simply nodded and asked brief questions. "Are you okay?" she finally asked. "You seem different." "Just focused," I replied with a smile that felt new on my face. "Big project today." By lunchtime, I had changed all my computer passwords. I'd reorganized my filing system. I'd even parked in a different spot in the lot. Brendan appeared at my desk at 1:30, grinning widely. "Hey, Melody. I wanted to thank you again for all your help these past months. I honestly couldn't have gotten this promotion without you." At least he had the self-awareness to acknowledge that much. "No problem," I said, my voice pleasant but not warm. "I was hoping you could walk me through the Eastridge client history. Kevin wants me to take lead on their account, and I know you've been handling them for years." In the past, I would have immediately opened my files, spent hours explaining every detail of the complex relationship. Instead, I smiled. "Have you checked the shared drive? There should be some basics there." His smile faltered. "Yeah, but you know how it is. Those files don't have the special Melody touch, all the little details that make the difference." I said. "Let me check my schedule. I'm pretty booked today. Maybe send me a meeting request for later this week?" Confusion flickered across his face. I had never been too busy to help before. "Oh, yeah, sure." As he walked away, I noticed Kevin watching our interaction from his office doorway. His expression was unreadable. That afternoon, 3 different coworkers came to me with questions I would normally answer immediately. To each, I responded with some version of, "What approach have you tried so far?" By day's end, there was a subtle shift in the office atmosphere. Nothing obvious, just a slight hesitation when people approached my desk. I didn't change dramatically overnight. That would have been too obvious. Instead, I made small adjustments each day. When copied on emails asking for solutions, I responded with, "Who else might have insight on this?" When asked direct questions in meetings, I replied with, "What has worked before?" I stopped joining lunch outings. I declined meeting invites without explanation. I started bringing unusual foods with strong smells to my desk. I changed how I dressed. Nothing inappropriate, just different from my usual style. People whispered. I noticed Kevin paying attention to everything I did. Week 2 after the announcement, our biggest client, Parkstone Industries, called with a problem. Brendan had misunderstood their marketing needs and sent a proposal that missed the mark completely. In the past, Kevin would have immediately asked me to fix it. This time, I overheard him tell Brendan, "Just figure out what Melody would do." But he couldn't. Nobody could, because I had never taught them how I thought, only what to do. 3 weeks after the promotion announcement, Parkstone requested a meeting with whoever actually understands our business. Kevin was forced to bring me along. In the meeting, I asked questions nobody had bothered to ask before. Not about their orders or complaints, but about their challenges, their daily frustrations, their actual needs. "You're the first person there who's ever asked me that," said Jenna, Parkstone's marketing director. That night, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. "Melody? This is Victor Zhang, VP at Parkstone. I need to speak with you about something important." "Of course," I replied, pulse quickening. "I want to talk directly with your company's board," he said. "This can't wait." "Your board members' contact information isn't on your website," Victor continued. "But this is urgent. We've been with your company for 8 years, and suddenly we're getting subpar work from someone who doesn't understand our needs." My heart pounded as I realized what was happening. "I can pass along your concerns to Kevin," I offered, professional as always. No, Victor's voice was firm. We tried that route. He assured us his nephew was the best person to handle our account. The results suggest otherwise. I sat on my couch, phone pressed to my ear, mind racing. This conversation could end my career if Kevin found out, or it could be the leverage I needed. The board meets quarterly, I said carefully. Their next meeting is next week. The chairman is Alan Foster. Thank you, Victor replied. And Melody, we're not the only client who feels this way. After we hung up, I stared at my ceiling, wondering if I'd just made a terrible mistake or set something important in motion. The next morning, Kevin marched straight to my desk, his normally ruddy face pale. Did you speak with Victor Zhang last night? He demanded, voice low. My stomach dropped, but I kept my expression neutral. He called me. Yes. What did he want? He expressed concerns about recent work. I maintained eye contact. I suggested he speak with you directly. Kevin's eyes narrowed. That's all? That's all, I confirmed. He didn't believe me. I could tell. But he couldn't prove otherwise without calling Victor, which would mean admitting he was checking up on his client's conversations. Brendan will be taking lead on all Parkstone communications moving forward, Kevin announced. You'll copy him on everything and transition your knowledge this week. Of course, I said with a smile that puzzled him. The knowledge transition meeting with Brendan that afternoon was enlightening. I don't understand why they're being so difficult, he complained, slouched in his chair. We gave them exactly what they asked for. What did they ask for? I inquired. A new social media campaign focusing on their product benefits, he said, showing me his proposal. I glanced at it. And what are their customers' main concerns about these products? He blinked. What do you mean? Why would someone hesitate to buy their products? What objections do customers typically have? I don't know, he admitted. Isn't that Parkstone's job to know? I just nodded and made a note. Interesting approach. Over the next few days, 3 more major clients requested meetings about their accounts. Each time, Kevin was forced to include me. Each time, I asked questions that revealed how little Brendan understood about their businesses. Word spread through the office. People watched me with new eyes, some wary, some curious. I continued my subtle behavior changes. I stopped anticipating problems before they happened. I waited to be asked directly before offering solutions. The company's rhythm changed. Where work had once flowed smoothly, now there were hiccups, delays, confusion. Kevin called me into his office Thursday afternoon. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. What's going on, Melody? He asked, his voice unusually subdued. What do you mean? I kept my expression pleasantly neutral. You know exactly what I mean. You're different. You're not yourself. I'm just adapting to my role, I replied. Your role hasn't changed. I met his eyes. Hasn't it? He leaned forward, fingers steepled. I need you to train Brendan properly. The clients respect you. Help him succeed. I've shared all documented processes with him, I said. That's not enough, and you know it. Frustration edged his voice. He needs to understand how you think. I can't give him my experience or instincts, I said simply. Those took years to develop. Kevin's jaw tightened. Look, I know you're upset about the promotion. I'm not upset, I interrupted, surprised by my own boldness. I'm adjusting my approach based on the company's values, which you made very clear. He stared at me, genuinely confused. What are you talking about? You demonstrated that relationships and knowledge aren't valued as highly as other factors. I'm allocating my energy accordingly. Kevin flushed. That's not fair. Brendan has tremendous potential. I agree, I said with a smile. And now he has the opportunity to reach it. The following Monday, something strange happened. Alan Foster, the board chairman, appeared in our office, a rare occurrence. He nodded politely to me as he walked directly to Kevin's office. Through the glass walls, I could see their conversation growing increasingly animated. That afternoon, our weekly company meeting was scheduled. Usually, these were brief updates led by Kevin, occasionally with department heads presenting new initiatives. Today felt different. People shuffled into the meeting room with curious glances and whispered conversations. Kevin arrived last, Alan Foster by his side. Thanks everyone for being here, Kevin began, his voice oddly tight. He glanced at Alan, then back at his notes. We have some exciting announcements today. He shuffled papers. cleared his throat twice. As you all know, we recently promoted Brendan to Senior Marketing Director. He's been adjusting to his new role. Kevin's usual confidence seemed dimmed. Today, I'd like to recognize his achievement again. My nephew wins the $75,000 promotion. People exchanged confused glances. This had already been announced weeks ago. A few clapped half-heartedly while stealing glances at me. Then Alan Foster stood up. "Actually, we need to make a correction," he said, looking directly at me. The room went completely still. Kevin's face froze when Alan continued. "Over the past week, I've received calls from 5 of our top clients. They all had the same message. They want direct access to the person who actually solves their problems." Alan's eyes remained fixed on me. "In fact, they've added clauses to their contracts specifically naming this person." Murmurs rippled through the room. "The board met yesterday in an emergency session," Alan continued. "We've decided to create a new position, Chief Client Advocate. This role will report directly to the board and includes a $150,000 raise." Brendan's face had gone pale. Kevin looked like he might be ill. "Melody," Alan said, "we'd like to offer you this position, effective immediately." The room erupted. Coworkers jumped up, applauding. Dana squeezed my arm. Even people who'd barely spoken to me were smiling broadly. I didn't stand. I didn't smile or speak. I didn't need to. Additionally, Alan raised his voice over the commotion. "We're implementing a new company-wide knowledge-sharing initiative. Melody will be leading this effort, ensuring that client insights and process improvements are properly documented and distributed." Kevin's lips pressed into a thin line. He knew what this meant. Every successful method I developed would be credited to me, not to the departments he controlled. "I'd be honored," I said quietly. After the meeting dissolved into excited chatter, Alan approached my desk. "I appreciate your discretion in this situation," he said. "The board has been concerned about Kevin's management decisions for some time. When 5 major clients threaten to leave simultaneously, we take notice." I nodded, processing what he was really saying. The board had been watching, waiting for evidence. "Victor Zhang sends his regards," Alan added with a slight smile. He was quite impressed by your understanding of their business challenges. That evening, as I packed up, Brendan hovered near my desk, his confidence visibly shaken. "Congratulations," he said, attempting a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I wanted to ask if we could. I still need your help with. Send me a meeting invite," I replied. "We'll set up regular knowledge transfers." His relief was palpable. "Thanks, Melody. I really appreciate it." As he turned to leave, I added, "Brendan?" He looked back, hopefully. "Come prepared with specific questions. My time is now at a premium." The subtle shift in our dynamic wasn't lost on him. He nodded quickly and walked away. On my drive home, my phone rang. Tori calling. "I just heard," she exclaimed. "Dana texted me everything. Chief Client Advocate, $150,000 raise, reporting to the board. Melody, this is incredible." For the first time in weeks, I felt a genuine smile spread across my face. It's been an interesting day. Interesting? It's revolutionary. Tell me everything. How did Kevin react? Is Brendan devastated? Are you going to redecorate your new office? I laughed. One step at a time. This calls for celebration. Dinner tonight, my treat. At dinner, I gave Tori the full story. How I'd stopped being the office savior. How clients had noticed immediately. How Kevin had unwittingly revealed the company's vulnerability by promoting Brendan. "So you didn't campaign against him or complain to HR?" Tori marveled, sipping her wine. "You just stopped overperforming." "Not exactly," I corrected her. "I stopped giving away my knowledge for free. I showed them its value by temporarily withholding it." Tori shook her head in admiration. "That's brilliant and terrifying." "How so?" "You revealed how dependent they are on you. That gives you power, but it also makes you a target." Her words stayed with me as I settled into my new role. She wasn't wrong. The first month as Chief Client Advocate was challenging. Kevin avoided me entirely, communicating only through email when absolutely necessary. Brendan oscillated between resentment and desperate attempts to win my approval. Other executives watched me warily, suddenly unsure of where I fit in the hierarchy. Was I above them now? Equal? A threat to their domains? Meanwhile, clients were ecstatic. I traveled to their offices, learned about their industries firsthand, and created tailored marketing approaches that went beyond surface-level campaigns. Our client retention rate climbed to 98%. I instituted weekly knowledge-sharing sessions, documenting client insights, and teaching others my approach. Some embraced it eagerly, others resented being taught by someone they considered a peer. 2 months into my new role, I overheard Kevin telling another executive, "She's building her own empire in there. The board doesn't see what she's really doing." The comment stung, but also confirmed I was having the impact I wanted. I wasn't just succeeding, I was changing how the company operated. In my 3rd month, Alan Foster requested a private lunch. "The board is extremely pleased with your work," he said as we settled at our table. "Client satisfaction scores are the highest they've been in 5 years." "Thank you," I replied. "The direct reporting structure has made it easier to implement changes quickly." Alan nodded thoughtfully. "That's partly what I wanted to discuss. Kevin has raised concerns about the organizational structure. He feels the chief client advocate role creates confusion in the reporting lines." There it was, the pushback I'd been expecting. "I understand his perspective," I said carefully. "Change is difficult." "Indeed." Alan studied me. "Kevin has suggested bringing your role back under his supervision." My stomach tightened. Was my victory being reversed already? "I see." I managed to keep my voice steady. "And what does the board think?" Alan leaned forward slightly. "The board thinks Kevin doesn't fully appreciate the situation. Our clients have made it very clear who they trust. However," he paused, "we need to consider the long-term stability of the organization." "Of course," I agreed, although uncertainty crept through me. Was this a diplomatic way of telling me they were siding with Kevin after all? "Which is why," Alan continued, "we'd like to discuss a more significant change." Alan took a sip of water, his eyes evaluating me. "The board is considering a restructuring of the executive team. Kevin has been CEO for 7 years now, and while the company has grown, we've noticed certain patterns in decision-making that concern us." My heartbeat quickened. "What kind of patterns?" "Prioritizing personal relationships over business outcomes, resistance to innovation, limited understanding of our clients' evolving needs." Alan set down his glass. "The board believes the company needs new leadership to move forward." The implication hung in the air between us. I kept my expression neutral, though my mind raced. "Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" Alan's smile was slight but meaningful. "We're creating a new position, Chief Operations Officer. This person would oversee all client relationships, marketing strategies, and internal processes. Kevin would remain CEO, focusing on investor relations and big-picture vision, which would mean most of his current responsibilities would shift to the COO," I observed. "Precisely," Alan nodded. "We'd like you to consider taking this role." I sat back, genuinely surprised. When I'd started my subtle rebellion, I'd hoped for recognition, maybe a comparable position to what Brendan received. I never imagined this. "Kevin won't accept this easily," I said carefully. "No, he won't," Alan agreed, "which is why we need someone who understands how to navigate complex relationships. Someone who can implement change without creating unnecessary conflict." I almost laughed at the irony. They wanted me to be diplomatic about essentially demoting Kevin after he'd passed me over for a promotion. "I appreciate your confidence," I said. "When would this transition take place?" "We're holding a special board meeting next Friday to finalize the decision. If you accept, we'd announce the change immediately afterward." The next week passed in a blur of anticipation. I told no one about the potential promotion, not even Tori. This wasn't something to celebrate prematurely. Kevin seemed to sense something brewing. He began showing up at client meetings he'd previously delegated, speaking over me when I made suggestions. In one particularly uncomfortable session, he contradicted my recommendation for a client's campaign strategy, insisting his approach was better. The client, Harper from Blue Sky Technologies, looked between us, clearly confused by the conflicting advice. "Perhaps we should discuss this internally before proceeding," I suggested smoothly. Kevin's face reddened. "There's nothing to discuss. We'll go with my approach." After the meeting, Harper pulled me aside. "Is everything okay, Melody?" That was tense. "Just passionate about finding the right strategy," I replied diplomatically. Harper wasn't convinced. "We trust your judgment. Your solutions have consistently delivered results for us." That evening, Kevin called me into his office. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across his desk. "You undermined me today," he said without preamble. "That wasn't my intention," I responded calmly. "I was offering an alternative perspective based on Harper's previous campaigns." "You've been offering alternative perspectives quite often lately." His fingers drummed on his desk. "The board seems very impressed with your ideas." So he knew something was happening. "I'm just doing my job, Kevin." He leaned forward. "Let me be clear. I built this company into what it is today. Not you, not the board, me." Technically, his father had built the company, but I didn't point that out. "No one is questioning your contributions," I said. "Aren't they?" His eyes narrowed. "Alan Foster has scheduled a special board meeting. What do you know about that?" "The board doesn't share their agenda with me," I replied truthfully, if not completely forthcoming. Kevin studied me, trying to determine if I was lying. I maintained eye contact, my expression neutral. "You've changed, Melody," he finally said. "You used to be a team player." "I still am," I responded. "I'm just playing for the right team now. Our clients." The morning of the board meeting arrived. I dressed with extra care, a navy blue dress that was professional but confident. As I walked through the office, I felt Kevin watching me from his doorway. Brendan intercepted me at the coffee machine. "There are rumors flying around," he said in a low voice. "People are saying there's going to be a major announcement today." "Friday announcements are pretty common," I replied noncommittally. "This feels different." Brendan shifted uncomfortably. "Uncle Kevin has been on edge all week. Is something happening with the company? Are there layoffs coming?" I looked at him, really looked at him. Despite everything, Brendan was just a young man caught in his uncle's power games. He hadn't asked to be thrust into a position he wasn't ready for. "Brendan, whatever happens today, or any day, focus on learning the business properly. That's the only real security anyone has." He seemed surprised by my sincerity. "Yeah, okay, thanks." At 2 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Alan. "Decision made. Company-wide meeting at 4 p.m. The next 2 hours crawled by. I reviewed client files, responded to emails, all while an electric current of anticipation ran through me. At 3:55, I walked to our large conference room. It was already filling with employees, whispers bouncing off the walls. Kevin stood at the front with Alan and 2 other board members, his posture rigid, face unreadable. He didn't look in my direction. Alan began precisely at 4 p.m. "Thank you all for gathering on short notice. The board has been evaluating our company structure to ensure we're positioned for future growth. Today, we're announcing several organizational changes, effective immediately." The room went silent. I could feel people holding their breath. First, we're creating a new executive position, Chief Operations Officer. This role will oversee all client relationships, marketing strategy, and internal operations. Kevin stared straight ahead, his jaw tight. "Melody will be stepping into this role," Alan continued. "Her exceptional client relationship skills and innovative approaches have impressed both our customers and the board. She'll be building a new team structure to support our evolving business needs." Murmurs rippled through the room. Several people turned to look at me, some with surprise, others with knowing smiles. "Additionally," Alan continued, "Kevin will be focusing his efforts as CEO on investor relations, strategic partnerships, and long-term vision planning." Everyone in the room understood what this really meant. Kevin was being moved away from day-to-day operations. His kingdom was shrinking. "These changes reflect our commitment to putting client needs at the center of our business," Alan concluded. "Please join me in congratulating Melody on her new role." Applause erupted, hesitant at first, then gaining strength. I smiled graciously, nodding my thanks as colleagues approached with congratulations. Through the crowd, I caught Kevin's eye. His expression was a storm of emotions: anger, disbelief, and something else that might have been grudging respect. The next few weeks transformed the company. With board backing, I reorganized departments based on client needs rather than traditional marketing functions. I created cross-functional teams that brought together different expertise. I implemented transparent project tracking so everyone could see progress and bottlenecks. Most importantly, I established a knowledge-sharing program that documented our best practices and successful strategies, ensuring no one person held exclusive information that could leave with them. Brendan, surprisingly, thrived under the new structure. Relieved of responsibilities he wasn't ready for, he excelled in a role focused on social media innovation. Without his uncle's shadow looming over him, he developed his own strengths. Kevin withdrew into his new, limited role. Our interactions were strictly professional, confined to necessary meetings. Sometimes I caught him watching team brainstorming sessions from outside the glass conference rooms, his expression unreadable. 3 months after the restructuring, our quarterly results showed a 30% increase in client retention and 15% growth in new business. The board was delighted. Alan stopped by my office after the numbers were announced. Impressive work, Melody. The transition has been smoother than we anticipated. Thank you. The team has really embraced the changes. He nodded thoughtfully. Kevin has requested a meeting with the board next week. He wants to discuss his role going forward. I see, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Any concerns? Not from our side, but I thought you should know. Alan paused. This was never about punishing Kevin. It was about recognizing talent and putting the right people in the right positions. I understand that, I assured him. After he left, I sat quietly at my desk, reflecting on the journey. My revenge, if you could call it that, hadn't been about destroying Kevin or exposing him publicly. It was something far more powerful. I had transformed his company by simply revealing my true value and refusing to hide it any longer. The following Monday, Kevin knocked on my office door, the first time he'd sought me out in months. "Do you have a minute?" he asked. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. "Of course." He sat, looking uncomfortable. "I've been doing some thinking. A lot of thinking, actually." I waited, giving him space to continue. "When my father handed this company to me, I promised him I'd grow it, make it stronger." Kevin looked out my window. "I thought I was keeping that promise. The company has grown under your leadership," I acknowledged. "Growth isn't just about numbers," he said, surprising me. "It's about building something that outlasts you, something that doesn't depend on just one person." I nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. "I'm stepping down as CEO," he said finally. "I've recommended to the board that you take the position." Whatever I'd expected, it wasn't this. "Kevin, that's the right decision," he interrupted. "You understand this business better than I ever did. The clients know it. The employees know it. The board knows it. I was just the last one to accept it." He stood up. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About the promotion. I made a mistake, a big one." "Thank you for saying that," I said, genuinely moved by his honesty. As he turned to leave, he added, "Brendan mentioned you've been mentoring him on the Parkstone social campaign. Thank you for giving him a real chance." "He's earned it," I replied. "He has good instincts when he's allowed to develop them on his own." Kevin nodded, a flicker of pride crossing his face. Maybe there's hope for the kid yet. After he left, I sat back in my chair, processing what had just happened. This wasn't how revenge was supposed to feel. There was no triumphant gloating, no desire to celebrate Kevin's defeat. Instead, I felt something closer to respect for his ability to finally recognize the truth and accept it. 2 days later, the board unanimously approved my appointment as CEO. The company gathered for the announcement, applause filling the room as I stepped up to speak. "Thank you for your trust and support," I began. "When I joined this company 5 years ago, I never imagined standing here today. But I've learned that growth comes in unexpected ways, sometimes through challenges, sometimes through opportunities, and sometimes through moments that initially feel like setbacks." From the corner of my eye, I caught Kevin nodding slightly. "Moving forward, our focus will be on developing everyone's strengths, sharing knowledge openly, and putting our clients' success at the center of everything we do. No one person, including me, should be irreplaceable. Instead, we'll build systems where everyone can contribute their unique talents to our collective success." As the meeting concluded and people returned to their desks, Brendan approached me. "Congratulations, CEO," he said with a genuine smile. "Uncle Kevin made the right choice this time." "Thanks, Brendan." I wanted to ask. He hesitated. "The client knowledge program you started. I'd like to help expand it. I've been thinking about creating video tutorials for new team members." I smiled, recognizing the irony. The nephew who once relied entirely on my knowledge now wanted to help others learn. "That's an excellent idea," I told him. "Set up a meeting and we'll discuss it." That evening, as I packed up my things, now to move into the CEO office, Tori called. CEO Melody, she exclaimed. I need details immediately. Dinner tonight? My treat again? We're celebrating. I laughed. Actually, can we do this weekend instead? I have some planning to do tonight. Fine. But I expect the full story, every juicy detail. After hanging up, I stood at my window watching the sunset paint the city in golden light. 5 years ago, I was answering phones and fixing coffee machines. Today, I was CEO, not because I'd schemed or played politics, but because I'd finally recognized my own value and refused to let others diminish it. My revenge against Kevin hadn't been about bringing him down. It had been about rising to my full potential, something I could have done long before if I'd believed in myself enough to try. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting ahead. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories like this one. I'd love to know, have you ever been underestimated at work or school? How did you handle it? Share your experiences in the comments below.